I remember a few years ago, Mayank, there was a very clear sort of a message that we got, even from Mr. Tata, that as a brand, because you're a new brand, you're a young brand, it doesn't mean that you'll still get the gestation period or the kind of growth time that some of the other international brands had, which means that you have to have one eye on being a global player. You have to, and JLR fits in beautifully with that strategy. For the Tata brand itself, though, when you look at the export market, you look at that kind of globalization, where do you stand today versus the kind of promise that was made maybe 8 years ago?
Okay. I think today we have a lot of distance to cover. For example, commercial vehicle we export to more than 40 countries, and
sure,
around 20% of
and it's very well established.
Well established, very well respected brand, etc. In the passenger vehicle, because we didn't have any product for a long time, we have had a challenge. Immediate focus, Siddharth, if I will be very candid with you, is to win India back, gain market share here, and at the same time keep an eye on the markets overseas. But first focus, put your everything you have here and more, so that you win.
So it's a conscious effort to kind of take a step back from looking outside, because like you said, win India back. I like that line too.
First win here in your core market. Actually, globally, if you see, you can't be great overseas unless you win your local market.
The product investment plan that you've anyway spelled out for us is something that has now been talked about, in our circles for a while. So we understand that. You've also now shared with us about how you're looking to really expand the network and penetrate the market. What's the other immediate investment focus for you that you see?
I think investment focus, once we do these two things right, I think will be to reinvest in the brand, rejuvenate the brand. It should resonate with the current customer profile, and I mentioned to you that profile is very different from that, and perhaps many of them not had engaged with Tata brand earlier in any way. So we need to work on that. So that's the next plan, next pillar on which we'll work very quickly.
So in the next, or not just the short term, but the short to medium term then, since some of the other bigger investments are already behind you, what is the kind of capex that you're looking at?
I think product capex will continue. Around 3,000–4,000 crore per year we do. That will continue for some time actually. We are investing in new platform, new powertrains, new brands.
But could there be some synergy there with JLR? Not necessarily the platform itself or the drivetrain itself, but could there be certain component related or any kind of a physical synergy there which helps with cost? Or is that too premature?
See, there are a lot of learnings from that. We borrow a lot of systems, processes, but not in the sense the design you borrow. It doesn't work that way.
And again, that distinction perhaps needs to be there between the two portfolios.
Distinct brands.
Tata Motors also has played the sort of nurturing role when it comes to certain businesses in India. Of course, JLR to begin with, because it's a natural it's almost something that you should want to do, is to grow JLR in India as well. But you've also had that sort of a role with Fiat, with Ferrari, other brands like that. When it comes to those kind of alliances, we see a lot of global car makers still doing that, and you continue to still use Fiat powertrains as well. Where does that go now? Because again, is there value in your pursuing either the existing relationships or new relationships?
I think at this moment we are ourselves, we think we are capable, we should know. Of course, Fiat we take the powertrain like others do. Yeah. Beyond that, nothing at this stage.
But is there any other form of that relationship? Because I know there's still the manufacturing alliance that continues, though of course the front end of it has been split long ago. Do you see any value? It's not just with Fiat, but do you see any value, especially when you look at your export plans, getting into other markets, etc., of looking at any kind of partnerships in the future?
At this stage, nothing.
But you're not ruling it out in the future?
I'm not commenting anything on this at this stage.
All right,
either way. I mean,
fair enough. Immediate plan between now and next year when it comes to the market outlook is of course something that you almost can't predict to a certain extent. But since there has been a lot of groundwork that's now gone into it, even politically you start to see a certain change now. There's talk about GST, etc. What then is your immediate outlook when it comes to how Tata Motors will do in the market?
I think first let's talk of industry, because Tata Motors is not away. Industry, I think around 6 to 8% for this fiscal. There are some concerns currently. One is monsoon. We don't know how it is going to play out by the year. We'll have some clarity by September. Second thing will be interest rates. I think that's creating some sort of confusion. Two confusions. One is anticipation of it coming down. Every time we see it, so customers say, let me wait.
Yeah, there's been a
I'm
lot of
seeing
that.
a lot of deferment on the counters that people say, and suddenly news appears will come down. The fact that the amount it comes down is not important, but people say, let me wait. That's another thing. So industry, I think 6 to 8%. We'll have double-digit growth. Certainly, we'll outperform industry by factor of 2.
And this takes into account your 2 new launches, or factors
This
those
takes
in.
care of, this takes into account Tata Motors, everything what we do.
No, why I ask that is because is that based on your current portfolio, and then so anything that happens with the new products is only going to add
No, I
to
actually
it?
built in whatever we are going to do this year.
So they'll have substantial time, let's say, to establish
Yeah.
themselves and contribute.
Certainly.
Are we, as usual, putting too much focus on the festive season because of what you've just said? The current environment
Festive
remains
season is
tense.
an indication of H2, second half how it pans out. So not too much focus on festive season, but I think that's a good indication. And it's a good way to see some buyers like first time buyers, government employees, first time executives, they buy in the festival period. Other demand is more or less normal. So that gives me how uptick is that. There's been a decline in first time buyers, I'm sure you know. So that's why I am very keen observer of festival season, which brands work and how they work.
Actually, that's a good point, and now I will watch that too, since you've spelled it
We
out
should
like
meet
that.
more often. We can exchange some
We
good
actually
points
have to do
actually.
that, and in fact, I know that I've gone way over time today as well because
Oh,
I
yes,
know
we'll show it
we are meeting after a long time. So one last point then, and on a personal note, given the time that you've now spent at Tata, and it's let's say 2 things in that. One is your experience at Tata Motors itself, and then one is Tata as a group. What's been the surprise for you, and what's been the part that's been the most satisfying?
I think surprise to my delight, the bigness of the group.
I mean, it didn't have to be a positive surprise,
No,
but I'm glad to hear it.
It's a bigness of of the group and the bigness of thinking. Actually, the heartbeats for country, which is actually inherently I've seen in every possible decision this group takes, and I'm very fortunate to be part of the larger part of the group in various groups. So that's a very, very positive thing. It has been a challenging thing, and very satisfying thing is that you are able to connect with people very quickly. So when you're coming from a completely different culture to a new company, that connect is important, the engagement is important. People should start believing. I think these are very good positives actually. That's what, in a very short time, that's what is possible for us to do.
I'm very pleased to see the excitement and the passion that still resides within you, and I'm happy to see that it's translated to this brand as well. So that's obviously got to be good for Tata Motors as well. I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
And like you have now promised me on camera, we'll meet more often and
we should
sooner
meet
than.
more. I learned so many things from you. Let's meet more often.
No, it's mutual, and so I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Siddharth. Pleasure talking
Good to see you.
Thank you.